Welcome back into my studio and the next installment of the A to Z exploration in texture. So we're going to get down some gesso onto these two watercolor pages for the letter E. So you might find this next step a little bit strange, but yes, those are eggshells. And I'm going to be using some TCW modeling paste and some Finnabair heavy gel medium to apply these to my page. Now, the modeling paste is not an adhesive. It is simply modeling paste. I am applying the eggshells with the heavy body gel medium because it is an adhesive, and this is tedious, but the effects are outstanding, and it's probably, in the end, it's probably my favorite page, but it does take some time to get all the eggshells down. And you're gonna see I have all different color eggshells here. I have some naturals, and what I'm just doing there is I'm pulling off the membrane that has adhered itself to the shell, because I don't want anything allowing these to release off my page. Now you can see here I have applied some egg carton. Egg carton is wonderful, and this is some of that natural colored stuff, and I love them. They have lots of texture. Again, I use the heavy body gel to apply that down, and even though I'm coming in with modeling paste, the modeling paste again is definitely not a way to adhere heavy items to your page. They'll pop off. Now, doing the eggshell technique is a lot of work. It's very time consuming, but I really got lost in the process. I could really see it coming together, and I really enjoyed that. So now this is my little pocket, and I made this out of a tag that I just folded and then sewed together, and I am going to apply down my letter using this Carolyn Dubé stencil from StencilGirl, and I have to say that I love this stencil. I have used it in so many different ways, whether it's for actual letters, representing the letters, or if it's like texture in the background. It is very versatile, and it's awesome on the gel plate. So just a little FYI. And here I'm going to mix some paint colors together. I am going for that like a natural green, and I think I actually pull out later on, but this is actually, I do a lot of color swatching when I'm mixing colors. And so for a project I did a long time ago, I was actually painting, I had created this color and I wanted to use that again in this piece. So I was mixing that and getting it ready to put through onto my little pocket, creating my letter. All right, this enters in our next texture element, which is the embossing folder texture. I'm going to apply it down to this page, but then I'm going to have like a little insert of how I created that texture. It is a wonderful, fun method for getting surface texture down onto a piece that as long as you have a texture plate or an embossing folder, this is something you can do, and some hot glue gun. Hot glue and hot glue gun. It's very awesome. You do have to gesso the surface in order to get anything to really adhere to it. And you see that I haven't done that here, but I do go back in and get that gesso applied to the surface. I chose to do it after I had applied it. And you see on the right page, there's little pieces over there. So here I go in to show you. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to make some texture using hot glue and embossing folders. There's a lot of videos on YouTube about this. I'm sure it's not a new technique, but it is a lot of fun. And so I have an old Sizzix embossing folder. It's like a ledger pad and a hot glue gun, and you're going to need lots of glue sticks because you go through a lot of glue. So, and you want to be really careful because of course it is hot glue. So the first thing you do is you're going to let your gun really heat up well before you even start, because you need it to pour out a lot of glue at one time. And so you just start squeezing out glue in the area that you want to get an impression, and leave room for it to squish out. And you're going to get as much as you can out there before the rest starts to heat up too much or cool down too much. And you can just kind of press it and move it. It'd be a little hot, so you got to be careful. And then you're going to let that sit to the side and cool off because this is very hot. So you need to let that sit and cool off. And then here's one that's cooled. And you're going to pull them apart. Now it's going to make a lot of noise. And you're going to just peel it out. Sometimes if you get it a little thin, it'll start ripping like it is right there. You just grab it and just keep pulling. And it still is pretty cool. It makes this really neat texture. Okay. I have another one that's cooled off. This is a honeycomb. That you can use. Okay, here's that color swatch where I mixed the colors. At one point in time I had mixed the colors and created the swatch. And so I'm going to remix these colors again so that I can get them back onto my background. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to do glazing. Glazing is another thing, another form of texture, because what it really does is it really accentuates what's already there. It just brings it out so you can see it better. And so I'm going in back with that really kind of mossy, earthy, foresty kind of green. And you can see that's what I named this swatch. And I'm going to go in and do some glazing with that. The general rule of thumb when glazing is 50-50. So 50% of your color and 50% glazing medium. You can up that or reduce that depending on where you live. I'm in Arizona, where things dry faster, especially during the summer months. So I don't leave glaze on my surface for very long before I bring in my baby wipes and start to try and pull it up, or else I get it sticks, it dries that way. So you have to kind of play with it and work with glazing and find out what works for where you live, what works for your style. It's one of those things. I think textures as a whole really require you to play a lot, do some investigation, and glazing's another one of those that does require some playing with before you're comfortable with it. So I'm going to go in and get this down and then pull it up with my baby wipes. I always have lots and lots of baby wipes available when you're glazing.
we wake, hear the birds and see the sun. Side by side our fears are done. Oh, the good times just begun.
And now I've got that totally glazed, and I'm actually have leftover glaze. So what I'm actually going to do is going to go in and use that up on some of these egg cartons, giving me some of my darker elements. And then I'm going to come back in with some gesso and dry brush, using my finger dry brush, some gesso or white back into it for the highlights. So I have a depth, a range of values throughout the piece. I hope you have enjoyed this, the letter E. I do have a little excerpt here. I know this is already a long video, but I did want to also show you that you can actually stain eggshells. And so I am showing this here, and here I'm using Unicorn Spit, which is a gel stain, and it is wonderful for lots of different kinds of projects, but I'm using it here on these eggshells. I've added a little water to them in this styrofoam cup, and then the Unicorn Spit. Like I said, it's a gel staining glaze, and you just kind of mix it up until you get them really saturated in color. I found that I like to let them sit in the styrofoam cup until they're almost dry, and then I shake them out onto a paper towel and let them finish drying. Now you can use other items like art sprays, but you want to make sure they're not the water-soluble kind. So Marabou works very well. They're very highly pigmented, and they won't move if you get them wet a second time. Sprays that don't, also Dina Wakley gloss sprays will work. Sprays that do not work are like the oxide, the distress sprays or the distress oxides, and the Lindy's do not work. So I've got that. I just wanted to show you that you can do that to your white shells and get them into a color that you enjoy. and then once they're dry, you can apply those that way. The other thing is I have created a free PDF download. Now this is a download of all the textures I've used throughout this project, plus additional textures that I have, like tried and true textures that I've used in the past. There is room on this PDF for you to add your own items to it. So it's kind of like a starting point, a reference piece of material, if you would. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you like it, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already, please subscribe, and the PDF link is down below in the description box.